The Dream 3 podcast, episode 33. We're back in your life. We have a ton of topics to get after today, from Neil not believing in Consummate Shamaev to our $1,000 card challenge. Let's get after it. We're back after a week off. A lot of stuff has taken place. We had a good fight night. The NBA playoffs have started. A lot going on in the card world. Neil's made some big moves. We've bought some cards. We've sold some cards. A lot of stuff for us to get into. I know we were going to talk about some NBA playoffs. Honestly, I don't know about your opinion. NBA playoffs kind of seem dead to me. You know, Lakers were trash, never had a shot to make it in. The only thing that's really, kind of made the news for the playoffs is Kyrie going full Kyrie in Boston this weekend.
Yeah, I think the terminology is Ramadan Kyrie right now. He is he's playing out of his mind, but I wouldn't expect anything less, especially going back to Boston, being there, kind of leaving on a short notice and I guess you could say severing the ties with the Boston crowd. So him coming back was kind of that game was actually really good. That was a really good game there.
So what's your thoughts on, because, Kyrie spent a lot of the game, going back and forth with the fans, and then the post-game press conference, he was saying, hey, it's kind of a double-edged sword here. Like, people want the athletes to be, all prim and proper and, not take things too seriously. But when you have, fans who are coming at you and constantly coming at you, like, as an athlete, you should be able to challenge them. You have a couple ways to go at it. You could be like the LeBron James type and, I want this fan kicked out of the game, or the Kyrie type of, hey, I'm going to say some stuff right back. Even think of Reggie Miller giving Spike Lee the choke sign. You as a fan, you pay to go in there and you can say whatever you want. You can't really do whatever you want. So I have no problems having athletes, if you want to talk stuff to somebody, athletes should be able to talk right back to you.
I 100% agree. I think there's like a threshold. Obviously, we were all victim as early Pacers fans to the Mouse in the Palace, but so that's something a little different. I mean, if you're getting beer thrown at you, it's a little different. But if you want to talk smack and you can get in Kyrie's head, or you want to get in Kevin Durant's head or LeBron's head, like, that's okay. It's just as long as you're not like making death threats on people. Like, that's a little different.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think I mean, if you can chirp it up and get these guys off their game, more the power to you. I don't see an issue with that at all.
No, there shouldn't be. And as an athlete, you should, there's a couple ways you can think about it. You can use it as fuel to fuel your fire for the rest of the game. It can get underneath your skin. You can take it too personal sometimes. But to each his own. I think the way Kyrie handled it, like Pat McAfee was saying, he believes that's the way everything should be handled. So, it's kind of one of the ways that, like I said, to each his own.
Yeah. I think that first game was actually a really good game. That's going to be a big. I think that series will probably go 7 games. I'm not sure what Ben Simmons is going to look like coming back. But if Ben Simmons is playing any kind of basketball, it's probably better than not having Ben Simmons. So I think that gives Brooklyn the edge. Now, can they time it up and, get past the Celtics? I know the Celtics are streaking hot and playing really good defense, but at the same time, there's not much different from last year as far as talent-wise and depth. So I really don't think the Celtics are that much better than Brooklyn. I don't know. I picked Brooklyn to win the series. I think the Brooklyn if Brooklyn gets past this one, they'd play the Bucks. That'd be another really good series. I think the winner of that has a chance to go to the NBA Finals. man, the Warriors without Steph Curry looked really good. They looked
even with Steph, coming back kind of off that injury, and he even said, he's fine with sharing the court with Jordan Poole. Like, let Jordan Poole play a little bit. He'll come off Steph will come off the bench. So, like you said, they still look pretty damn good without him. You got the Bucks that are leading the series over the Bulls 1-0. You got the Heat that are leading the Hawks. The Suns got a series over the Pelicans so far. The Jazz are over the Mavericks. T-Wolves over the Grizzlies. 76ers are up one game, and they're playing right now. The 76ers are also up on the Raptors right now, 62-50, as we talk.
Yep. I think from the beginning, let's just do this. Let's just make our finals prediction. Who's going to win the championship? I got the Bucks and the Warriors in the finals, and I have the Warriors winning against the Bucks.
I'm leaning toward. I'm going to lean towards the Bucks winning this year. I'm not. I don't disagree with you at all with the Bucks Warriors prediction. I think not only they're very talented top to bottom. I just don't see much flaws in the game, especially if you can rest Steph Curry. And like kind of what we just talked about, if you have bench players coming off and playing just as well as your starters, like why not? That's how you make a deep run. If you watch, obviously the Nets game against Boston last night, towards the end of the game, how tired did Kyrie and Kevin Durant look? I mean, they played almost 83 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, what's going to happen is, the Nets, they don't necessarily have that depth that they had last year with some of the other like alternative scorings. Although I think Joe Harris and I think Seth Curry. I think Seth Curry's an upgrade from Joe Harris as far as a basketball player, not necessarily 3-point shooting. But I think Seth Curry gives them a little more dimensional as far as like offense and defense. And I like that. From that aspect. But time will tell. Kevin Durant really hasn't ever made any. He's made one finals outside of the two jokesters of championships that he won in Golden State. So we'll see if he can put it together.
Yeah. All right. So also last week that we didn't really get to catch up on, I had a big UFC card, 2 title fights, Shamaya versus Burns. It was a great card top to bottom. But I think obviously the best fight that kind of overshadowed both title fights was Chimaev and Burns. Stand-up war, banger war, very overhyped. I wouldn't say overhyped, but enough to.
Someone was overhyped.
So that's what we're going to get into. So you're not a big believer in Chimaev. Is it right now or just overall?
Well, here's the thing. I think a lot of people were talking him up, and I think his talent was talking him up. But Gilbert Burns is a top 3 guy in the division, and you went toe-to-toe with the guy, and at times he didn't look, and I would say for a majority of the fight, it wasn't like he was absolutely dominating Gilbert Burns. Like when I think of, and this is part of this is probably the card market, but like Chimaev, Makhachev, Islam, who else? Name me some other prospect guys that people are super high.
Any Dagestani.
Yeah,
right
any
now.
Dagestani. So the problem with this is they believe that just because they come from Habib's camp means that they're just going to be the greatest of all time. And this is another problem, is like there's no respect for the greatest MMA fighters of all time. Like Daniel Cormier was well balanced, and his only 2 people he ever lost to are going to be UFC Hall of Famers who are arguably the best ever in their division.
Mm-hmm.
actually probably unquestionably the best ever in their division as of now, and one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time. So Jon Jones and Stipe. So you're talking about there's no respect for Daniel Cormier. There's no respect for how good Jon Jones was. There's no respect for how good Anderson Silva was or GSP. And people think these prospects are just going to come in here and be the next Khabib. And don't get me wrong, like Khabib's a great MMA fighter, but at the same time, like he got to the top and he kind of just like got to the top and that was it. And I would like for him to show a little more, because the people that I have in the top 10 that are better than him, the 3 greatest MMA fighters of all time, they were at the top, but they sustained the top success. And they did it for years. I mean, years. We're talking, what, 10, not, I think 9 title defenses is the lowest, and that was GSP. If I'm not mistaken, GSP at 9, Anderson at 11 title defenses, and Jon at 13. Mm-hmm. So, like, you're telling me for 7 to 9 years, those guys are just reigning over a division, and we act like, these guys, these Islam, we act like Chimaev are going to be these Hall of Famers, and it's like they looked human. They looked human.
So is your beef that the hype is too early, or he just hasn't proven himself yet?
The hype's too early. It's too early, and he hasn't proven himself. You're like great, you ran through a division, but if you don't make it to the mountaintop and you lose to Colby Covington, then you lost to Colby Covington. You're worth nothing.
Well, the thing is, he hasn't run through the division. He's had 4 fights in the UFC. None of them were in the top 10. His 5th fight is against the number 2 ranked guy in the world.
Yeah, but people act like he's already a champion. Like, that's how they're treating him.
Yeah.
And they're not even giving respect to Usman or Adesanya, any of these guys or Peter Yan, or they're not giving any respect to those guys.
Peter Yan got screwed in that fight, 100%. He won the first round.
Agreed.
But I think with Chimaev, first off, he's not out of Khabib's camp. He's been in Sweden since he was in early high school, because he's a 3-time Swedish national championship wrestler. He's been training at Gustafsson's gym since he was 17. I think in that fight, it proved that he is still a prospect. He didn't really his game plan. He didn't. His first 4 fights, he ran through his opponents. Ran through them. Mm-hmm. With Gilbert's a different type of cat. He's number 2 all time for a reason. But you got to see some things that Chimaev did do, and what happened that kind of says, you know what, this cat's a little bit different. For example,
he's got the talent to be a top guy, and he showed that. That's why he won the fight.
For sure. I mean, he took a shot. He took that overhand right that knocks out 99% of human beings of all time and ate it. The other thing that shows me that he took down Gilbert Burns, who is an ADCC, which is the biggest tournament in jiu-jitsu. He's an ADC silver medalist, and Gilbert Burns couldn't even hold Chimaev down. Now, I think he got Chimaev. I think he got way in over his head trying to knock the guy out, and they stood there toe-to-toe, which was absolutely not the game plan. If he wanted to, he could take Gilbert down if he wanted to. And you could hear his coach screaming about it. Do I believe the hype? I do. I think the hype is real. Am I looking for somebody? If you look at that division, does anybody else excite you? Does Michael Kiesev excite you to move up the ladder?
So what are we talking about, though? Like, are we talking about hype? Are we talking about the fact that, like, the division excites you for the future and just having good UFC fighters? Or are we talking about a guy who's going to be the next, GSP?
A prospect that could be the next GSP. I mean,
I don't see it. Like, here's the example I'll give you. We grew up watching GSP, Jon Jones, and Anderson Silva run through divisions. Mm-hmm. And they didn't run through the division up until the top tier guys. They ran through the top tier guys. without question.
I can say that. Well,
the only one you can probably argue is GSP had a little trouble when
he lost
to
Matt
Stera, came back, but then after that he realized what his talent was, and that's taking people to the ground.
But I can also say for Jon Jones, was he fighting? I'm not saying he wasn't fighting top tier guys. He was fighting a Shogun Hua, who was the middle or the light heavyweight champion. Shogun had already had a long career in Pride.
Machida, champ.
I mean, Rampage Jackson was the champion at one point.
Yeah, but remember at the time, didn't Rampage beat Rashad Evans?
No, that was the most.
Was that after?
No, they had only fought once, and Rashad just took him down over and over and over. Remember that fight was so hyped, and then it was the absolute worst fight.
Is that how Rashad won the title?
No, it wasn't for a title. Rashad won it by knocking out
Liddell, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't Liddell, because Liddell had already lost the title to Rampage.
So then Rashad beat Quentin in the title fight.
Because who did he get it? No, it wasn't for the title, because they were the tough coaches. I do know Rashad lost it to Machida. So it's somewhere in between there. So
but you're talking about like Rampage, who at the time was power bombing people through a octagon canvas.
That was 5 years before then. By the time
it doesn't matter. No one
from Pride to the UFC, his career was completely different.
Yeah, but Quentin took Chuck Liddell and knocked him unconscious. And at the time, Chuck Liddell was the guy.
But it's also like the guy who, I mean, Quentin was the first knockout of the train of knockouts after that for Liddell. But I'm saying, like, another thing with the division, like a guy who's 6'4", fighting at 170 pounds or
205.
No. I'm talking about Chimaev.
Oh,
it's 70, right? Yeah, it's 70.
Yeah.
So a guy who's 6'4" fighting at 70, like, look at him compared to Gilbert Burns. They look like two different people. Like Shamaev looks like a light heavyweight in there. So another thing is, like, let's keep it interesting. You're always looking for those new prospects. What's going to get me to get involved? Like Michael Chiesa does not excite me. Name me somebody else in the top 10 of 170 right now that I want to see fight. What's his name who lost last night, who is number 3 to Muhammad in a decision? Like, I didn't even know Luque was number 3 at 170. Yeah, that's how bad the 170 division is.
Yeah, but like, you got agreed. The 170 division is not great, but at the same time, like, if the 170 division is not great, he should be dominating Gilbert Burns. He should dominate Colby Covington, and then he should go toe to toe with Kamaru Usman, right? That's essentially what
he should happen. So, but like, I want to see the Colby Covington fight, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah,
and we were on that kick on our UFC page with Squints and everything. So
yeah,
6'4", Kobe's 5'11". Well, and that one guy said, "Oh, Kobe's going to out kickbox him." He's 4.5 inches taller and probably has a 6-inch reach advantage. Colby, good cardio. That's great. Can he wrestle with the guy? I want to see it. It's kind of like anything else we see with Colby. We saw it with Masvidal. Can he strike with him? Can he get him to the ground? This is what makes interesting matchups. This will be a real test of Chimaev, because Chimaev's, that's his first top 10 fight. Like we said, it's the number 2 guy of all time. They stood there, they swang and bang, like Derek Lewis would say. And, he ate so many punches, and his coaches were so pissed because he didn't stick to the game plan. Now that he's got his taste of, getting in there, he's ate some punches from the big dog. Now you're going against the number 1 contender in the division. Now we're playing, with the real big dogs. Not taking anything away from Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns is a legit fighter. I think the number 2, number 1, and the champion are the only guys in that division that are worth my time and my money. Everybody else is a mid-card fighter for the rest of their lives, guaranteed. So you have this new guy who's not only smoking fools previously, now they're not, top 10 guys, but he's also got the size. He's got the stigma around him. Now he's got this thing with Darren Till that he's the Smish brothers, which is, another thing that kind of gets me excited, like, something different. What made everybody excited about GSP? Well, he was a true martial artist. He never said anything. He was always about, being traditional, being respect. Why did people like Jon Jones in the beginning? He was the same way. And then, cocaine took over, and now people have a different perspective. Some people like him, some people don't.
Yeah, I would just like to see we saw a taste of what Chimaev can do. It's going to come down to what can you do in the next two fights. Can you go and you beat, can you go and beat Colby Covington? And then after that, can you go and beat Kamaru Usman? Yeah. But if you can't beat Covington, then you're going to have to work your way back up,
Okay, now the big debate. I'm not even going to call it a debate because we were on this topic for like a half hour last night. Jon Jones, Stipe, UFC 276, July 2nd. More than likely going to happen if Jon Jones wants to play. I do not want to hear that Stipe is going to outbox Jon Jones. I don't want to hear that Stipe has a chance against Jon Jones. Not going to happen. Jon Jones, first round, TKO.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say that because Jon is the kind of fighter who, as much cocaine as he snorts and as much stupidity outside of the ring happens, Jon does one thing well, and that's game plan for a fight and take your weaknesses and exploit them. Mm-hmm. Like, who would have thought that Jon would have taken Lyoto Machina, just basically hugged him to death along the cage, and then just choked him out and let him drop dead? Because that's what he did. Who would have thought that the second time that he fought Gustafsson, that he would have just straight up just beat the shit out of him? Because that's what he did. Yeah. And it's Jon. What people forget about Jon is he's so technically sound and gifted as far as game planning. He sticks to his game plan. He watches tape and he exploits the weaknesses of others. And that's what he's going to do with Stipe. That's what he's going to do. And if you beat him quick enough, maybe you get Ngannou when he's recovering from his ACL, and maybe you think, oh, maybe we'll take him out.
I think Ngannou's done. Whoever wins, if this is for the interim title, they're going to be the heavyweight champion. Ngannou's out until the end of the year with the ACL that he just got repaired. His contract's up in January, so he can't fight. So the stipulation was you win the title fight, you get extended 1 year. So he can't fight before that deadline. So my thought process is he either gets paid a ton of money, which I don't think the UFC will do, or he's going to go box. So if Tyson Fury wins, which he should, destroy Dylan White, I bet Ngannou fights Tyson Fury for a bunch of money and then Ngannou retires. That's my thought. I don't have a feeling that Ngannou really wants to fight MMA anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I see your thought process. I mean, Conor did the same thing. He walked out on top and said, you know what? I'm going to go box Floyd Mayweather for $50 million. So why not? If Ngannou can get $50 million to go fight Tyson Fury, why not? Because at the end of the day, what are these guys here to do? They're here to make money, right?
Exactly. Like, it's kind of like the NFL. Not everybody loves playing football. People love making money. And if this makes me the most money, I'm going to do it. Not a lot of people like fighting, but if I'm getting paid for it and I'm getting paid pretty well, if I can make more money boxing than I can in the UFC, why not? Why do you think everybody wants to fight Floyd? Why do you think everybody wants to fight Canelo or Tyson Fury?
And what helps that decision is these guys also have a championship. They've won their championship. You bring up football. Tyreek Hill probably wouldn't sign with Miami if he hadn't have already won a Super Bowl. Like, he's already got a Super Bowl. So $25 million a year, might as well take it.
Well, a couple of things with that. $25 million a year, I'd much rather live in Miami than Kansas City. And there's No,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
and
You got your Super Bowl.
There's no state tax there either, right?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You look at all the other variables now because you've already won the only variable that matters in your sport, and
Yeah,
it's the championship. So Ngannou, McGregor, they've won their championships. They don't need to stay anymore.
they're just looking for the
They've
big
hit the
fight.
pinnacle.
Yep.
So
It's all about making money.
why do it more?
No, I totally understand. Like,
That's exactly why Jon Jones hasn't fought, and probably why he gets in more trouble. It's because he wants more money, and he's like, you know what? I have all this money. I don't need to do anything. So he just gets in trouble.
Yeah, no, I understand. I agree with that. But yeah, we had a long discussion with some casual last night, saying that Stipe was going to beat the brakes off of Jon Jones, and that Jon Jones is a cheater, and
Jon Jones hadn't fought in forever.
Or Jon Jones hasn't put anybody out for years, but like, so Jon Jones' last TKO or knockout win was 2018. Stipe's was 2019. So close enough, basically the same. The whole steroids thing, I don't want to hear it. Every professional athlete on the face of the planet has taken steroids one time or other in their life. If you've ever broken a bone, if you've ever been sick, if you've ever been, guess what the doctor prescribes you?
No, that's not the same thing.
It's okay. So an anabolic steroid. Biggest misconception he goes, well, Floyd Mayweather's not jacked. Steroids do not make you big, bulky, muscular, looking like Jose Canseco. What do steroids do? They help you recover so you can continue to push your body harder and harder.
Correct.
Recover quicker so you can train harder. Not that it's, I'm going to take a steroid and I'm going to look like, Mark Coleman.
Yeah, no. And that's a misconception I think that a lot of people have is like, oh, steroids just make you huge. They don't, and that's not the case. It's something that's just going to make you better. I mean, I brought up the point. I was like, Lance Armstrong was on, doing more than I could count different ways of doing steroids, blood doping, HGH. It doesn't matter because it's like you said, it's about a recovery. It's about being able to build back that muscle quicker, being able to activate those quick twitch fibers quicker, doing everything to be just basically better than your opponent. Not about just building massive amounts of muscle. That's not what steroids is about.
No.
Yeah, and I think part of that's just uneducated people making comments about things that they just haven't looked into, and they're
casuals.
They've only gotten a part of the story. So
casuals.
The problem. Yes, casuals.
All right. Moving on. Man, the NBA or the NFL free agency is still popping off. I want to know, how does everybody want to go to the Los Angeles Rams, and how do you still have money to take in? Now, today, so speaking of today, I'm asking the same question about the Cleveland Browns because they signed their corner today for a 5-year, $100 million deal. He's now the highest paid corner in the NFL.
So you probably know a little more about this than I do, but what you can do to take money off your actual books for the year is create signing bonuses and make those bonuses essentially just money up front, so that way you don't have to pay them their salary across the majority of the season. Saves you salary cap space and allows you to get more flexibility with the other players. That's how Los Angeles has done it the past few years, and that's what's given them a title. Bobby Wagner was a huge upgrade at linebacker, but for me, I still think there's holes in Los Angeles' defense, and one of those being corner, because we let Darius Williams walk. He went and he signed elsewhere. We'll see if we can cover up that spot in the defense. But yes, everybody. It's almost like manipulation of the salary cap to be able to create teams, and that's what people have gotten, or people have done. They've gotten smarter with their money on how to create more opportunities.
I'm just glad the Colts finally got. So they got two players, obviously. Stephon Gilmore, which I think is the biggest corner signing, a 2-year deal, 24 million, 14 guaranteed. That's great. The McDougal signing, that helps also. Now we just need a wide receiver of some sort. I mean, we
You
don't
think
have
we'll go after one in the draft?
We're going to have to, because who else are you going to pull? You look at the top 10 free agent wide receivers. You got Julio Jones, who's 33 and hasn't been productive in a couple years. You got Jarvis Landry, who wants $20-something million a year. That ain't happening.
Nope.
And then everybody else is like Danny Amendola, bunch of slot guys that are not number ones. We need a true number one receiver. Michael Pittman Jr. is not it. Michael Pittman Jr. is at best 2.
What do you guys do? You guys have a first rounder this year?
No. Gave it for Carson Wentz.
But you got back one of those picks, didn't you?
Yeah, we got back
third rounder.
We got it back a third. I think we have 1 or 2 seconds and 2 thirds.
Well, if we know any recent history, don't go with an Ohio State wide receiver, because you guys have done that recently, and that's
it. We've done it with Paris Campbell. Has been hurt 3 out of the 4 years. Anthony Gonzalez, solid, not great. No big play name guys, but
how many first round draft picks do you have next year?
I think 1.
Why don't you go after Debo? He wants out. How much cap space you got?
Right now, I think it's. I'd have to look, but I want to say we still got 20-something.
First round draft pick, third round draft pick.
So I bet my guess is they're going to draft a lot. Wide receivers, offensive line. It's a deep draft. Now, the biggest thing that I'm seeing is the Lions are now kind of in the Malik. So Jared Goff gone, more than likely, or the backup role. So if the Lions take Malik,
well, Jared will be the starter at least for the first few games until they develop whoever they draft.
How many? We went from hearing, all season that this quarterback class is going to suck. It's not as good as the Trevor Lawrence class. There might be 4 or 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round.
Yeah. Why wouldn't Detroit just make the smart play and go for a defensive player like Aiden Hutchinson? Even though I'm not exactly high on him, but even like a Kayvon Thibodeau, somebody who can at least be an edge guy, and then next year maybe go for a quarterback when Bryce Young comes out, who I think is a much more talented passer than what you have available on this.
Couple reasons. One, when they traded for Golf, was that a straight up trade, like contract and everything? And
the money made sense, and I think the only thing that was different was draft picks.
My only thought would be if Goff is,
but he's only got 1 more year. I think literally the reason why is because they have 1 or 2 more years left on the deal too.
Then that would mean what would his dead cap be? Because if you cut him,
probably 25 million.
If you release
next year,
yeah.
If you do it this year, it's probably 20.
It's tough. That's a tough call because why do you take a rookie quarterback? Because doesn't get paid a lot of money in the first 4 years.
Yeah, that's true.
And you don't have to pay a big name quarterback. So thanks to Dugenay, Colts got $21 million in cap space. So I mean, we could afford Jarvis Landry, but there's nobody in the top 10 of the free agent wide receivers that I would want as a number 1 for the Colts.
Debo?
But he's not a free agent. He's just once out. Which, if you're the 49ers,
might as well be a free agent.
I mean, if you're the 49ers, you're going to ask for a 1, a 3, and a 7. Be my guess.
That doesn't sound bad at all.
I don't know.
Here's the thing, though. You have a defense, a front 7 defense that can carry you in the playoffs. You have an offensive line, and you have a running back that can carry you.
Okay, so here's
You need a one wide receiver, and you need a competent quarterback to get you to a conference championship game.
So my other thing would be like, here's why I wouldn't want to trade away a 1 and pay Debo, because next year Quentin's going to have to get his contract, which is going to be $100 million contract.
Okay, well, just make it into a signing bonus like they do everything else. You got Gilmore for cheap.
$14 million guaranteed. That's pretty cheap.
Yeah, guaranteed, but over the course of 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you guys can do it. Plus, from a Rams perspective, I don't have to see Debo anymore, and that makes me happy.
How about
very happy.
How about Derek Carr getting 20? Well, it's 21.4, but in all reality, it's 41.5. Like, do you feel that Derek Carr is worth that type of money?
No, but you can't go out and get anything better. And he took your team to the playoffs with a terrible roster.
Well, you also
absolutely decimated roster.
You also handcuffed yourself because bringing in Devontae, them being college teammates, paying Devontae a ton of money, you're not going to have, Derek Carr leave and then you bring in Connor Cook. Sorry, Squints. Bring in Connor Cook to be your starting quarterback. Like, Devontae's going to be like, why did I leave Aaron Rodgers?
Maybe that was the way they incentivized it. They said maybe this deal with Devontae and the Packers, maybe it was done a long time ago, and the only way they could ever make it happen is if Derek Carr stayed. I'm sure there's stuff going on behind the scenes. I mean, you heard that whole article on Tom Brady going to the Dolphins, right?
I did, for like an ownership standpoint. Yeah. Also.
Him and Sean Payton both going to the Dolphins. And the only person who stopped that train was Brian Flores when he came out with that lawsuit. Because he thought they were trying to screw him, but they were really just trying to pick up Tom Brady and Sean Payton for cheap.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny stuff.
Trying to think what else been fun going on. So drafts next week.
Next Thursday, right?
Yeah. Thursday's first round. Second and third Friday, and then the rest are Saturday.
Yeah.
Man, I wish. Remember when the draft was 2 days? And you would just grind Saturday and Sunday sitting there? Me and Tommy would sit there for 2 days and watch every single pick.
I mean, that's a lot of dedication.
It is. I mean, what's better? And I'll tell you what I like right now. Did you watch the USFL this weekend?
A little bit of it. I should have watched more, but
first game did like 3.5 million viewers.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, it wasn't bad football. Now
I recognized a lot of the names on there.
Now the first game yesterday was awful. Like Paxton Lynch is dirty brown trash water to the max. We knew that in the NFL. We see that now. Like, no on the no. But I applaud the USFL, the rules, the mics, the different camera angles, even though I feel like with the drone shot, that just like it's making my head spin when I see it. Just
yeah.
But I'm all for spring football leagues, giving guys more chances, playing football. Like, there's a lot of guys that
it's just more football. We all love football.
We saw guys last night that you're like, man, I would like to. Maybe some of these guys could probably still play in the league. And there were some dudes hitting. There were some big time receivers making catches, like guys 6'4", 6'5" from Division II schools you never heard of, making one-handed grabs. Like, I'm down to watch these guys, go out there and try it. Plus, next year we get the XFL coming in, so you'll have 2 spring leagues.
Yep.
So more football, the better. I think it gives them an opportunity to play with rules that you could see implemented in the NFL, like the 4th and 12 rule instead of the onside kick.
I do like that a little bit.
There's all kind, like they made a great idea or a great comparison. Like, after the rules have been changed where you can't stack to one side, the onside kick has a 4% chance of getting completed, where before then it was 12%. So what's like Mike Pereira said, what's the same thing that you would get on a 12% play as a 4th and 12? So now if you don't get the 4th and 12, now the opposing team gets the ball at your 20. So it gives you a big, opportunity to gamble. Plus you have the 1, 2, 3 point play, point after touchdown. I thought there was all kinds of things that we could nitpick at. People say it's bad football, and the only thing you could really say is, bad quarterback play makes it look like bad football. But these guys have only been together for 3 weeks.
Yep. Deeblin's got a good point. I think we saw this last year. Philip Walker was he an XFL guy? XFL guy, got a roster spot and ended up starting a few games, playing pretty decent.
Taylor
Heineke, he's another guy. A lot of these guys are some decent players, and maybe they got overlooked in the draft. Maybe they just were, like you said, come from D2 schools, but there's a lot of unused maybe talent out there that people could see, and when it goes on display, maybe they give an opportunity or sign with a team that might need some help there.
I'm telling you, there were a couple linebackers and safeties yesterday that I was like, man, I can't believe these guys aren't in the NFL. There was even a couple running backs, smaller, undersized guys, but had some speed. Brian Dawkins' nephew's in there, who's a running back. But I'll watch football all day long. Like, it's, football is football. You want to call it a bad college game, you want to call it whatever. Like, if I see guys strapping on the pads, I'll watch.
That's right. All right, let's turn our attention to kind of some of the last couple weekends. Golden auctions, PWCC auctions. Did you pick up anything, Caleb? Did you watch anything?
Last couple weekends, I've done some small items that I have not gotten yet, and have not put up on my page, on the Instagram page yet, Showtime Sports Cards. But I'll tell you what I have bought. So everybody probably already saw, my Herm Edwards game use patch auto from the Eagles. That was pretty sweet. My Champ Bailey game use patch auto, and my Keyshawn Johnson. Now, last night, or was it 2 days ago? A couple days ago, I picked up probably the first baseball card. Not because I'm kind of trying to stick to this game use patch auto game. The one thing about Flawless Baseball is Panini doesn't have the
license.
Yeah. So, some of those, but they do a good job of making it look like, you don't even notice them. So I did pick up a 2021 Flawless Bobby Abreu Phillies out of 5, and it is a quad patch. It's a dual quad patch on card, game used. So got it cheap. Like, you can get some baseball cards that look nice for under $50. And
I think that's an underrated thing, especially like if you're, let's be honest, we're all collectors in here. So if you're trying to collect something, you're trying to collect your team or something like that, a non-licensed product, even though it's non-licensed, Flawless makes a really good product. So if you can get something cheap that's an on-card auto and a patch, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, and then the big card I've probably bought. It's probably the most expensive card I've gotten in a couple months. I did get a 2018 Optic Kai Havertz Purple Velocity out of 125. We talked to Josh about.
You did make that one? You did buy that?
Oh yeah, I bought it. The guy accepted my offer, got it cheaper because you picked up the 99, and I thought that's a perfect play. Because we've been pretty open that we're all kind of planning towards the World Cup this year. We think it's going to explode, kind of like F1 did. You're going to see a big rise in soccer cards. So, even the Mbappes, the PSA 9s, the non-refractors are starting to go back up. I remember I bought mine, right after they really, really dipped and really hit the ground. I bought mine for $120, and I think they're over 300 right now. As we get closer to this World Cup, you know, you got to be smart and you got to do your due diligence. You know, Josh is very knowledgeable in the soccer game, and you look at Kai Havertz, he's a generational talent. He's going to start. He's starting for Chelsea right now and doing work, and he plays for Germany. And like you said last night, Germany's guaranteed to be in the semifinals at least.
Yeah, it's the German machine. They grind out everybody, and it just seems like every World Cup they're always in the semis. And you're just like, geez, can these guys ever just leave, please?
So I think you and me both kind of put a little investment bet down on Kai last night. You got the orange optic out of 99, and I got the purple out of 125. I think you got a smoking deal on yours, and I think mine wasn't too bad either. So
I think it's Mbappe. As sad as that sounds, Mbappe is probably still a good play.
Mbappe, and I think so. Little World Cup-ish right now. One thing that does scare me that I think people are buying into that I have cards on is Pulisic. But I think Pulisic is a great player, but USA England is Black Friday?
Yes.
I think that's the time to sell. I think you sell right before the game.
I would agree.
It's tough. It's tough though.
Because if they win, everything's gonna go berserk. But if they lose or tie, they're probably gonna end up making it through to the round of 16. They might win that game, but then they'll probably lose in the quarterfinals. They're not good enough, I think, to make the semifinals or better. They're just not. They're not talented enough. They're too young.
I think you just need to beat England. That's it, and then you unload
England's
your
looking
USA.
good though. England's got a lot of talent as well.
I know, and it's tough because I'm holding Pulisic, I'm holding Jadon Sancho, who's not going to really start for England, but if you got some Harry Kane, that'll be helpful. A lot of people, the Holland hype train, he's not even going to be in the World Cup.
He'll probably. What's sad about that? He may never actually make a World Cup.
Mm-hmm. But if
his team is just bad.
But if you're holding Holland, he's gonna go to the Premier League next year.
I've heard, is it Liverpool or Arsenal? No, it's not Arsenal. Maybe Liverpool. I think it's Arsenal or Liverpool
that are willing to pay the buyout.
Yes.
Or whatever it's called, transfer fee.
Yes.
And then my guy, Mukoku, who's the 17-year-old phenom on BVG. So if I'm prospecting one person, it's that guy. He's 17.
Who's his what's his national team?
He is, I want to say German.
No way.
I gotta look at it real quick.
Mukoku? You look it up. I'll you look it up. I'll go. I'll start on kind of some PWCC golden stuff. So last week there was a Tom Brady out of 100 that sold for $1.4 million. That's actually down. And Card Ladder and Slabstock put out a schematic just kind of showing the Brady market. It hit its peak February 2nd, I think, which was virtually like a week or two after he announced his retirement. Which was the peak price. It's since gone down since he's told us that he's gonna be back. I think Brady is still a good long-term investment. I mean, any GOAT is gonna be a good long-term investment, but someone definitely got one in on the cheap on that one. An 8.510 for 1.4. I mean, not cheap, but I think Brady's still really good. I did see a 2016 Bowman Chrome Red out of 5, Vlad Guerrero 1010, BGS 1010. Sold for $552,000. Now, from a prospecting side of things, that is a huge, absolutely huge sale. But I think Vlad is a very good player. And I think the Blue Jays are a very good team. So I don't watch a lot of baseball, but I do pay attention a little bit to some of the metrics. I make sure I listen, at least, even though I don't buy baseball very much. The Blue Jays are a really good team, stacked with a lot of hitters. They can hit themselves into the playoffs. And if they get some decent pitching, they can make a run. I think for the next 3 to 5 years, they're going to be a good team. So that sale, I'm kind of not surprised by, but it is a BGS 10, which is,
Tough
a
to
pristine card. Yeah, that's something you're never going to see, especially on something new, especially that high end of a product. So that's kind of a white whale type card that came about. Pretty crazy.
Mukoku, real quick, his citizenship is German. He's been on the German U17, U16, U20, and U21 national team.
What position does he play?
He is the same position as Holland.
Oh, he's a striker?
Yeah.
Mm.
So that's his problem. He's 17 and he's third on the depth chart.
Who's ahead of him?
Holland's number 1 and number 2.
Oh, at Dortmund.
At Dortmund, yeah.
Okay. Well, he'll be on that team until Holland transfers probably this summer. But for the German national team, he's behind Timo Werner?
Yeah, he ain't gonna be on the German national team for a hot second.
Yeah, probably not till the 26 World Cup.
Because of, reading some stuff on him, is he's going to be my prospect guy in soccer. He's not happy with the playing time, so him and his agent are talking to the Premier League. The Premier League also wants him. Could you imagine, 17? Everybody's looking for that 17-year-old phenom, 18-year-old phenom to go into the Premier League. Now, moving from Dortmund to, let's say, Chelsea or Man U or Liverpool or Arsenal or Man City or something like that, I think elevates not only just your stock, but it elevates your brand. Like, even in America, you can watch Premier League games. You can't really watch a ton of, besides, the Azul League, the Cruz Azul League, which is Mexico, and the Premier League. That's about the only soccer stuff you can get around here.
Yes, agreed.
So I think I would love to have him go to the Premier League.
Yeah, it gives him a chance to have the light shine on him a little bit. So yeah. I can definitely see that. What else we got? Golden. There was a $2.1 million sale on a Mickey Mantle PSA 7, which is, I think that's right, PSA 7.
What is it? Card? Is it 52 Mantle?
Yeah, 52. Which is a huge sale from the baseball market. I've thought about this. Mantle 52. What's going to be baseball's card to collect 50 years from now when nobody cares about Mickey Mantle? Because if you think about it, that's kind of the way Honus Wagner and Babe Ruth got. Those were the cards to collect, a few years ago, and then now it's like this generation wants Mickey Mantle. That's their guy. Who's going to be the next generation for baseball? And then the same thing, who's going to be the vintage guy for football and basketball?
I think football and basketball, that'll be kind of easier. It's going to be Brady, be my guess. Basketball is going to be LeBron. Because
you don't think Jordan will hold steady?
I'm sure it will hold steady, but 50 years from now, what do you think the pop counts are going to be?
On
an 86 Fleer?
Well, I don't think that'll be the card. I think if we're talking about one card that's going to be something transcendent the way the 52 Mantle is, it's got to be something with a lower pop, right?
You would think so. Something that's
so
hard.
Would it be the Star? Would it be the Star 85 Star?
Yeah.
Would it be like a
86 sticker?
Yeah. Yeah. Or would it be like the the like 97, 98 game use patch autos.
Yeah.
Because those were the first patch autos made of Michael Jordan.
So then for LeBron, it's got to be the exquisites, you would think.
Yeah, it's got, well, yeah. I mean, that's already there.
If they're $1 million cards now,
yeah.
What are they?
They'll be $1 million cards.
20, 50, 30 years from now.
Yeah.
Baseball's a little harder because I don't.
What is it for football?
Huh?
What is it for football?
That's got to be
Contenders Brady.
Contenders Brady.
Do you think RPAs ever have a room to be that?
I think.
Do they have a seat at the table?
I think so. I think,
Or do you need somebody who actually has an RPA to actually set themselves apart? Because that's the other question. Who's gonna? Because it's gonna be who's gonna come chase Brady, right?
Yeah. So like let's say Mahomes is the next Brady. Is the Mahomes National Treasure RPA the next big card, or anything RPA of Mahomes from 17?
I mean, I would assume so, because it seems like the more collector, like cheaper collector alternative is the Prism cards, but the stuff that truly holds the most value is the RPA.
Of course.
And I think because the vintage collector wants the contender stuff for football, right?
Yeah.
And the vintage for basketball has got to be the Fleer. I don't know. Maybe Steph Curry. Maybe the Steph Curry National Treasures RPA is going to be something to be sought after.
So I think it's just kind of a step up of the way the card game is. 1903 cigarette cards. Once you get to Babe Ruth's era, same era, but normal cards. Now you start stepping up into the 80s and 90s cardboard, just the prints. You step up into the mid 90s, late 90s inserts to now the game use stuff, the patch stuff, on card autos. Like, it's just going to be, will it be driven the same way? Will it be hyped the same way? Will the market determine which one is the best card to have? Will there be multiples? I'm still trying to think of your first question of who is it in baseball. I can't have a name. You could say Mike Trout, but he hasn't played a full season of baseball in forever.
I'm going to say Ken Griffey Jr. or Derek Jeter.
So if you say Ken Griffey Jr., you're going to say that the 89 Upper Deck is...
No, it'll be something different. It'll be like like one of those credential cards or something like that. Old Griffey insert. That's going to be the most sought after. It's going to be one of those. And if it's Derek Jeter, it's got to be one of the 93 foils and like a super high grade, because I know those are super condition sensitive. So it's got to be like a PSA 10 if there's even a PSA 10 out there. But the Griffey's got to be something a little more, because the pop we went over this before. The pop count on that 89 is ridiculously high. It's got to be something. It's got to be something with a little less pop. I'm not sure what it is.
It's just too. It's just a tough spot, especially in baseball, because of, I would also say, the steroid era. Like, you could have put McGuire there, you could have put Sosa there, you could have put Barry Bonds there, but it's kind of like Pete Rose. Pete Rose is a great baseball player, but since he's got the gambling rap on him, it's kind of like his cards aren't worth nothing.
Someone brought this point up, and now that you said that, baseball is sponsored by these sports books now.
Yeah.
So why isn't Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame? If baseball itself is sponsored by the thing that it was trying to prevent, why is Pete Rose not in the Hall of Fame?
Probably, well, just because but it's still against the rules for an active player or manager to bet on their own team. We saw that with Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're going to be partnered with gambling itself, and basically support gambling of your sport, just don't do it of your players. I mean, didn't Pete Rose say he never bet on a game that he actually played in? He just bet on other games?
No, he was a manager, and he bet on the Reds.
Or did he said, I'd never bet on my team to lose?
He never bet on his team to lose, allegedly.
I mean, are we going to discredit Jon Jones because he does a lot of cocaine?
Well, it's like steroid era. Do you believe that Barry Bonds, Sosa,
He should be, yes.
They all should be Hall of Famers. Tell me
they were all on steroids.
Tell me a more exciting time in baseball.
Yeah. I mean, they were hitting the ball literally out of the park every time. And
Tell me what NFL Hall of Famer in the last 20 years had never taken steroids.
Yeah, exactly.
Anybody from the 90s or 80s had taken steroids at one point. Like, if that's what you want to do for the game, do whatever. Like, the whole point of sports is to win and be entertaining. And you can't tell me during the steroid era of baseball that people weren't entertained.
Yep, agreed. I'm with you.
So, all right, let's talk about our 1,000 card challenge.
$1,000 challenge.
$1,000 challenge.
Do you want me to start this off? So basically, the challenge is, because we've grown to pretty much create a collection that we are willing to die with, and now that we have grails of our own, maybe it's time to challenge us to make collecting a little more fun again, make it a little more interesting, test out our abilities to go back and start from scratch. Because if you think about it, there's new collectors in the hobby all the time. And while we are established veterans, we'll say, how does someone go about making or building a collection? What do they have to do? Mm-hmm. So the $1,000 challenge is take $1,000, and you can make this applicable anyway. You could say $500 if that's all you have, because Josh has done the same thing. Your cousin Josh. Take the $1,000 and turn it into a grail, minimum $5,000. So you have to 5x your money or 6x your money, because in the end you want to be able to have that original $1,000 in your hand and have the grail next to it. And that's the goal, is to be able to get a grail card that's worth a really good amount of money that you didn't think you'd ever get, and to be able to grind your way back up to the top to be able to get that card. So that's the $1,000 challenge. Only get $1,000 to work with. You can't use any of your previous collection. You can't use any other items in your collection to trade. You just start with that $1,000 from scratch. That's all it is. It's tough.
Oh, it's gonna be real tough, especially you're gonna do a lot, I think, of a lot more trading than buying and selling.
Yes.
Because that seems to be the thing nowadays. Like, during the COVID spike, it was a lot of buying and selling, a lot of breaking, a lot of this. Now, especially with the whole 1099 thing on anything over $600, you're seeing a lot less sales on eBay, a lot less sales on MySlabs. I mean, people are still selling cards at a super rapid rate, but as the mature veterans as we are, a lot of people want cash and a lot of people want to trade.
Yep.
Agreed. And I think trading it's an art that a lot of people don't do, but you can make some really great deals trading.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah, you got to know how to work the system, not work the system, but you got to know how to work your dollar and work it to its max. It's tough to do. It's knowing when to trade out. It's knowing how to, not prospect, but knowing how to invest, knowing when the right time to invest is.
And knowing the worth of your card and knowing the worth of the cards you're trading for.
Yep. You got to be able to see vision. You got to be able to see a little bit of the long term and the short term gains. Yeah, it'll be tough. I started mine. I picked up the orange 99 Kai Havertz, and then I picked up a Bo Bichette Bowman Chrome 9510. Those are my two cards that I've started with. I picked them up for pretty good deals that I think I can turn around and flip those.
Yeah.
Maybe quick, maybe not. We'll see. But gotta start flipping, making a little money to be able to move up the chain.
So what's the card that you're gonna claim as one of your Grail cards that you want to go after?
So I recently had to get rid of one of my favorite cards in my collection. It was a Flawless Jim Brown out of 5 patch auto game worn jersey pieces. Really, really nice card. It was still sealed by Flawless. That's one of my grails. I would like to get that card back. I might get that card back just in a separate way. And then the other grail that I've always wanted that I just haven't done yet is get an 01 numbered Tiger Woods rookie auto or a tournament worn patch auto with the Sunday red jersey on it. Because Tiger's always known for his Sunday red. I love golf. I think it's a cool, neat piece to keep in my collection, especially game worn. That would be nice to have. So those are kind of my 3 that I've thought about.
So I tried to put a little bit of thought into it. I'm trying to think of which way to go. When we think of the GOAT collection, I picked up the Wayne Gretzky. When I think of a GOAT type collection, I think of the major cards that everybody wants to have in their collection. So I have the Gretzky. I got my Ric Flair rookie. My thoughts were I want a Bowman Chrome Brady. That seems to be one of the top ones. And just to have, even though that the pop counts are getting higher by the day, an 86 Fleer, whether it be high or low pop, I think that an 86 Fleer Jordan is just something nice to have in your collection if you're going for the GOATs. Now, would I love to have a Jim Brown game used patch auto for sure? And I can find those, or not I find those, but find game used patch autos like I told you today. Like type in Fleer or Flawless Greats patch autos on eBay, and like I want every single one of those. Roger Staubach, like anybody you can ask for, like I want them all. Like those are stuff like that. So I would
What about
say
a Jim Brown rookie with an autograph on it?
that would be pretty dope. That would be pretty dope.
I've thought about one of those too. They're about this. They're about the same price.
Mm-hmm.
Same kind of like Grail price, $5,000, probably around there.
It's just so hard. It's hard to narrow down to just one card that you would want, or even a set of 5, because a lot of card collecting, buying, and trading is seeing things that are just cool, like this Bobby Abreu that I got. Like, I'm not a huge baseball fan, and Bobby Abreu hasn't played in some years, but the patch on this is sweet. It's out of 5. It's a game used patch auto. It's inscribed on it. So, sometimes cards are just, buy and feel. Baseball, you picked up that Bo Bichette auto. I picked up before the season started, way before the season started, kind of like right after the season ended, Bo Bichette rookie black refractor out of 199. And people are offering me left and right on that. And I think there are guys in baseball right now that, we can call prospecting. Luis Robert, Bo Bichette, Galvin Lux has kind of fallen off the face of the earth. Bobby Witt Jr., like the guys like that, if you're investing in guys who are in the leagues maybe 1-2 years, I can't do the super prospecting because I don't have that time. I don't have that time or patience. But I think some smart plays to move up. But like when I think about cards that I want, it's the kind of like 5-star collector who we had on here. The great looking game used patch autos.
Yeah.
And then the signature cards. I think having the signature card, the 86 Fleers, the Bowman Chromes, the Flair rookies, stuff like that are staples in a collection. To me, that's kind of what I want to build my collection around.
Yep. I'm with you. Yeah, I agree. I think it's I love owning a piece of the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the big thing. Owning a piece of the game that we all love, and that's really what the hobby's all about, is the sports themselves and being able to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the closest thing we can't get to it.
So on a grading question, do you think with us seeing a lot more SGC slabs in the market, has SGC jumped Beckett? Do you think maybe not money wise, but in people giving SGC just about as much respect as they do Beckett? Because
I would
remember
say it's
when SGC kind of first started getting popular again, people were kind of like not on the train, not on the hype train. Now that they're basically, now PSA's starting to pump out cards again, but SGC's kind of been the only grading company that's really been able to turn cards in and out.
Yeah, SGC's done a really good job for their brand at making a reliable, consistent grade, but also grading it very fairly and tough. I would say SGC is probably synonymous in grading with PSA. It's just the market wants PSA more, which is fine. Uh, I would say SGC is probably on par with BGS. BGS, like, you can turn a PSA card and switch it over to BGS and probably gain like maybe a half grade or a full grade on it, just because that stuff happens. They seem to be a little more lenient right now on their grades, and I think SGC's caught them as far as like value and desirability. Maybe it's like a 2A goes to BGS, 2B is SGC, but they're right there now. There's not as much of a discrepancy. And even some of the vintage cards, I think SGC holds a little higher value than BGS.
Yeah.
And it is a little bit more closer to a PSA grade than BGS is.
And sometimes it's just, up to the collector. Like Josh, I don't think Josh really cares about. He actually likes SGC. He likes the look of it, the tuxedo look. I think for mid tier to mid high tier cards, SGC is a good suggestion for grading. I would only take I'd only put in a PSA or BGS order if it's something super high graded, super high valued.
Yes.
I think if you like slabs like I do, SGC is probably the way to go.
Yeah, agreed.
And even let's say an SGC 10 to a PSA 10, the difference could be anywhere from $50 to $100. But if you're still making times 2, times 3 on your money, or that 3 to 5% that we always talk about, like, who cares?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah. I don't know. Some cards I like BGS. I mean, the thing I hate about BGS is the stupid white label that they have for an 8. Just really makes the card suck.
Yeah.
I think SGC 810 looks a lot better than a BGS 810.
I agree.
And then obviously PSA just kind of in their own world, let's be honest.
Same for everything.
Yeah. But,
so, anything else you got on our to-do list?
That's all I got for tonight.
Cool. All right. Well, got to thank our sponsors, My Slabs. That's myslabs.com. Buy and sell your slabbed cards, your slabbed comic books, your sealed wax, which I bought a wax soccer hobby box not too long ago for only like $60. My Slabs. There's only 1% fees on graded cards, on wax, 3% fees on raw cards, and 6% fees on lots. Do all your buying and selling on myslabs.com. I'm telling you, get off of eBay. You'll thank us. Don't give eBay your 12 and 13%. Go to our friends at myslabs.com. Protectyourslabs.com. Go check out our friends at Slab Savers. Like, if you have big time investments that we talk about all the time and you want to keep your cards nice and safe, check out our guys at protectyourslabs.com. They got big cases. They got single individual cases. I'm actually going to start picking up a couple more cases from them because my collection keeps growing and growing. So I'm going to need some more. So go check them out on Instagram. Go check them out on Twitter, on Facebook. They got great stuff. If you use the code DREAM3, you're going to get 10% off your order. That's great on protecting your slabs. Gradedship.com, Graded Card Solutions. They just got a new packaging system out because, shipping your cards, it's one of the things that we hate to do because you see it on card shows and card groups all the time of UPS or FedEx or the mail just crushing your cards and destroying a slabbed card or whatever. So make sure that anytime you sell something, you ship it properly, use tape, use cardboard, protect those cards as much as you can. Your reputation is also on the line when you do that, and you hate to give refunds. Everybody does. And finally, Nation Golf. Remember our friend Adam Hawk was on with us last time before the Masters. NationGolfCompany.com. If you love the golden era of golf, they got great crew necks, great polo shirts, great t-shirts, hats. I mean, spring, man. Get your golf on. Get ready. NationGolfCo.com. So until next time, I'm sure we'll find a guest or we'll just go on and babble about something else. There's all kinds of things we can talk about coming up. More USFL football. More fights coming up.
The draft next Thursday.
Draft. We'll see how bad the Jets screw up like normal.
Yep.
But finally, follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Follow the Facebook page. And download on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Wherever you listen to podcasts, even YouTube. Check us out. Give us a like. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a share. Talk to us. Buy, sell, trade from us. Ask questions. You got card questions? We'll have answers. If we don't have answers, we'll put you in a space where, we know enough people that will find you answers. The card community, as big as it is a very small, tight-knit community, and everybody really knows everybody. So until next time, boys, we will see you later.